And so we have it. The Houston Astros have won the 2017 World Series Baseball Classic. Good job, Houston. However, only hours ago, I predicted that Houston would win this game. But I didn't say how. I can explain by, I was recording on my phone camera and I ran out of memory. But now, the Houston Astros won their first World Series title in franchise history. I'll be honest, in all of my years keeping track of the World Series, I have never seen such a thing. So, that's pretty good. That is one heck of a feat. Nice job, Houston. However, why did I believe that Houston was going to win, and why did they win? So, first of all, why I believe they were going to win. Well, looking on all the past World Series that I've watched, there was one particular pattern that seemed to refuse to break, and that was that the team that faced the most struggle going up to the World Series. So, in other words, whichever team faced more struggle usually ended up winning. I mean, let's see. Exceptions may include 2010 and 2015. I have the internet up right here, right now. Let me just take one look at 2015 for a moment. And so yeah, actually, the only exception to this pattern appears to be actually one moment. Let me take another look again at now the 2016 ones. Let's see. Sorry, for some reason I can perfectly recall the results, I can perfectly recall the results of the rounds leading up to the World Series from 2010 to 2014, but I can't recall exactly 2015 and 2016, so, yeah, just give me a little moment. Just give me a little moment here, sorry. But, so basically, the pattern I recognized was that the team that had more struggle usually ended up winning the World Series. It turns out 2015 was not an exception, 2014 was not an exception, 2012 was not an exception, and so yeah, and so all that. So, according to this, I can't, I'm sorry, if I keep going off the internet, it's just going to take too long. Okay, but based off of what I can remember, teams that have faced more struggle going up to the World Series usually win it. I mean, that was the exception, only exception I can recall off the top of my head was, 2010, because, what happened was, the Rangers beat the Rays it took all 5 games for the Rangers to beat the Rays. Same thing with the Giants over the Atlanta Braves. And then they won, and then both teams won 4-2 over their won 4 games to 2 in their championship series. But then the Giants win 4-1. So yeah, there's that. That's the only exception. But even yet neither one was really dominant, as I would say. And so that's why that was actually the sole reason I predicted Houston would win the World Series, because they faced more struggle. I mean, Los Angeles swept the Diamondbacks off their feet. Houston, they had one loss in the division series, but then they won the rest of the games. As for the Dodgers going to the championship series, they only took one loss. Lost against the Cubs, won the rest of the games. As for the Houston Astros, they and the Yankees had quite a battle, but in the end, Astros came on top. So then I thought, okay, Houston Astros definitely had a lot more of a struggle. LA did not really have much of a struggle at all. And so that's when I made my call. Houston's winning it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good of a first game appearance they make. They're going to come back in some sort of way. But then, coming into Game 7, I still held by my prediction, but it was a little shaky. And why was it a little shaky? Well, because then I started noticing that I saw a pattern here. that was a little different. That was a little different. Just like a little different, different, and that would like one would kind of favor one, and there were actually two patterns I noticed. One favored the Astros and the other favored the Dodgers. The one that favored the Dodgers was so I've seen a situation where there's a team where the home team basically, or the team that has more games at home, is down 3-2, and they're going back home for Game 6, and then they win, the next two games, and they win the World Series. I've seen that before, once. 2011, St. Louis Cardinals and the Texas Rangers. Rangers were up 3-2, they blew Game 6, and then Cardinals will smash them Game 7. So I thought, okay, so that favors LA, but then later that night I noticed, hey, wait a minute, there's also another type of situation that favors Houston, where basically the visitor was up 3-2, and then they lose Game 6, but then they win Game 7. We saw that in 2014 with the Giants and the Royals, where Royals make a pretty good stand in Game 6, but then it's just not enough wasn't enough in Game 7, so the Giants won that one. And so I thought, okay, so probabilities are a lot more even here, and then, but now to get into why the Houston Astros won. Every single one of the this was one of the few exceptions, but whenever the Dodgers won, usually the amount of runs scored were a lot total from both teams. We're simply a lot lower. I mean, Game 1, Dodgers won 3-1. Game 4, Dodgers win 6-2. Game 6, Dodgers win 3-1, 3-2, 3-1. And so so because of that, usually and so usually because of that I'm sorry. Well, let me get my thoughts here. But then whenever they scored like a lot of runs, like for example, when Houston won 7-6 in Game 2, when Houston won actually no, wait a minute, no. But one thing I did notice that usually if the teams look like they're getting a lot of runs in, especially via home runs, or if they're just getting a lot of runs in now, it's more like if they just got a lot of runs in general. But if they got a lot of runs in through home runs in the first 6 games, they were almost guaranteed to win. Whereas if there weren't a lot of home runs, period, Dodgers won those games. So why did the Houston Astros, however, score so many runs? Why did they have so many home runs? Why were they such a good team offensively? That was the key. Dodgers was supposed to be a good, well-rounded team. As for Houston, they had a couple stars and they had a nice lineup, but no one really thought they were going to win. So why did they start hitting all those home runs, eh? Well, there are a couple theories, but here's the main one I'm going with right now. Houston Astros were aggressive, something the Dodgers actually did not show throughout the whole World Series. Houston was swinging the bat over and over and over again. LA wasn't swinging the bat too much. They were doing a lot of taking first strikes. They were that was pretty much it. They were just taking first strikes. Something that sometimes the Houston Astros didn't show too much. As for the pitching, I could say that Clayton Kershaw did pretty well except in Game 5, but as for pitching, the Houston Astros, all they did was they went out, they did their best, they pitched. I have no doubt LA did the same thing too, but then it was just a matter of who simply could do better in the moments. That was just for the pitching, but then for the hitting, there were two very different approaches. As you can see, LA has relied a lot on their defense because their offense wasn't producing that much. And why? I believe it was because they weren't really swinging the bats as much as the Houston Astros. And not to mention that, Houston was going for everything. As you can see, George Springer, who was named MVP, some of the balls he slugged out of the park were like low balls, and usually in baseball those balls are low balls, and balls that come through the low strike zone, usually contact means on the ground, usually meaning ground ball out, but they were able to get them in the air. Now, I don't know how they managed to get them there, but I'll tell you one thing: their Houston Astros aggressiveness paid off. Aggressiveness in their offense paid off, and I think that's why they won, because they were more aggressive. Leading them to hit so many runs, forcing LA to swing the bat, putting a lot of pressure. However, they didn't really have a big theoretical chance of winning. They never really did. Why? Because they had less regular season wins than the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who in fact actually had the most regular season wins in all of Major League Baseball. That's how much of the underdogs the Houston Astros appeared to be in this case. Yeah, so I think that's the primary reason why Houston won. They were more aggressive. And here's the thing: when you get to that level of base, usually I've seen varsity players play before. I've seen college players play before. And one of their tactics is they like to see that first strike, and then they get the bats going. A lot of Houston Astros players didn't exactly play by that rule. And usually ones who did play by that kind of rule or that routine, they didn't appear to do so well offensively. I mean, Reddick, he had a couple hits there and all that, but nah, not really. I mean, if they were swinging at first strike, they were more likely to get a base hit or, in fact, home run. But then, if they were more aggressive, then why didn't they swing and miss a lot more? Why did they swing and miss a lot then? I think another key thing was they were very discerning. Basically, they did appear to be very discerning. So to be that aggressive but that discerning at the same time, I think a combination of that would lead them to being able to hit without swinging and missing a lot. Leading them to hit the balls a lot without swinging and missing a lot. But of course, there were still more like swings and misses, and in fact, maybe even some humiliating ones, like Jose Altuve. Sorry, very famous second baseman. He's the Houston Astros second baseman. As I noticed that he took quite some hacks, and sometimes they were just fastballs straight right there, pretty much down the middle. He swung, but he missed. But hey, gotta give him credit. And sometimes it's like after 2 swinging misses when he's down 0-2 in the count, meaning no balls, 2 strikes. Sometimes he would come back and hit a home run on a 2-strike count. I think that was the key. I mean, Houston was more aggressive, and they kept going. Also, Houston really has a cause to fight for. I mean, as you can see, with tragedies coming to U.S. cities for the past decade, I could say that tragedy really does fuel a team's will to win. I mean, Boston, they won their World Series after the bombings happened, and then. I don't know if this isn't really considered a nationwide tragedy. I don't know if any of you heard, but then they're Chicago. They're doing real bad, so I'll admit I rooted for the Cubs last year, and they ended up winning. Oh, and to add on to that, the Cubs won their first World Series last year. Won their first World Series title in 108 years. That's quite a long time too. But then this year, Houston. The flood and the fire. I was there before the hurricanes. It was a bustling city. I mean, it was literally as crowded as LA from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 at night. Highways were jammed. And then the hurricane strike. Heard disasters, but never been there myself since August of this year. I've seen the Houston Astros play. When those sportscasters say they're a responsive team, no joke. I mean, so it was a game where they won against the Diamondbacks 9-4, but they only had a 4-0 lead, however, for the first 5 innings, and then like in the 6th or 7th inning, Diamondbacks score a run or get a home run, and the next thing you know, they come back and they hit them with 2 more runs, and then Diamondbacks come back, score a couple more runs, so now it's like 6-3, 7-3, or something like that. And then next thing you know, they are on top 9-3, and then top of the 9th, Diamondbacks score a run, but no need because they're ahead in the 9th. They don't need a bottom in the 9th. I saw one of their games. So no kidding. They're an aggressive team, and they got a team that can hit. So when pitching was pretty much equal, if pitching was pretty much equal, then it just became a battle of batting lineups. And Houston, being aggressive as they are, put more balls in play, hooked more in the air, got more home runs, therefore getting more runs. That's how they won it. They were aggressive. I mean, it's the same. They literally approached it like my batting coach tells me to approach it. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. And they were aggressive. I believe they were aggressive, and they got hit after hit and run after run, and the Dodgers just couldn't take it in the end. That's why I believe that's why they won. As for where their motivation came from, of course, disaster kind of fuels a team's will to do great, represent their city. Well, congratulations, Houston. You have your first franchise title ever. It's very nice. That's my take on why the Houston Astros won the 2017 World Series. Thank you, everyone. I'm James Wu, tuning out.